Have you ever wondered what it takes to build a purpose-driven podcast? You see, God has put it on your heart to build a podcast that's built with purpose so that you can help other people. But what it takes is other people. And I'm going to explain to you what that means right now. What's going on, everybody? It is Derek Harper, and welcome to Building a Purpose-Driven Podcast with me, Derek Harper. Hey. All right, man. So today we're going to be talking about building your Dream 100. So we're going to jump into the second part of this. The last time we found out kind of how we find the Dream 100. But for a second here, let me talk about the Dream 100 because I don't think I really explained really what it is and how it works and all the things that surrounds this Dream 100. Okay, so the Dream 100 is a concept that I learned from Russell Brunson, all right, in his book Traffic Secrets. And the Dream 100 is as 100 people. You can do more, right? He says at least 100, but you can do more than 100. But 100 people who are doing what you do or that have already congregated your audience, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to build relationships with these 100 people so that we can work our way in to getting access to their congregation of people. All right, if that makes sense. Okay, so that is what we're doing. We're building a list of people that we can network with so that we can build. And I always tell my people that we're not building an audience. We're borrowing an audience. So I call it my borrow audience framework. All right. And the very first time that this actually became a real thing for me was I was working, teaching youth athletes how to run faster. And I was working on this clinic that I wanted to put on for the kids. So I was like, it's going to be a 2-hour clinic. I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to teach them how to run. It's going to be great. Like, I've been coaching for 15 years. Who wouldn't want to bring their kids to me, right? So I set up the whole thing. I went out. I got the stadium. I rented the field. I got some people to work for me for it. Did the tickets, everything. Did the marketing. Start putting my stuff out on Facebook. Did all the social media stuff. And we sold one ticket, literally one ticket, like with a couple of days before the actual event was to start. And so obviously I had to cancel it, right? I had to cancel that. And, but something in me said, hey, you can do this. Let's try again. So I was thinking, I went back to the book, Traffic Secrets, and I said, hey, what is it that I need to know to be able to get this thing going? Because I didn't have any influence in the area, all right, that I lived in. So I didn't have any influence. And nobody knew who I was. I didn't have any money. And so I needed a way to actually get this thing going without any money. So I didn't let that stop me. So I just went to the book, and I remember what he said about basically borrowing audiences and building the Dream 100. So I said, all I need to do is get in front of my dream audience through someone else's who've already congregated this audience together. So I was like, who is the people or who is my dream audience, first of all? Okay. My dream audience are parents of the youth athletes. I said, okay, cool. Parents of youth athletes. What do I do? How do I get in front of them? Where do they congregate? And I started to think, practice. Oh, practice. All right. So what I need to do is, first of all, let me test my theory. Let me come up with a free little booklet that I can give to them that'll bring them into my thing, bring them into my business, so then I can market to them in the email, and then I can sell my thing that way. So I made up a bunch of flyers. I went out and bought a $25 pack of paper, and I knew that if I think it was 500 sheets. So I was like, I can get 1,000 flyers out of this if I put 2 on one page. So I did that, started passing out flyers, put it on cars everywhere. I think I got 2 people out of the 100. It was like I put out 500, and I think I got like 2 or 3 people. So I was like, man, this is going to take forever. Like, I'm going to need like 200 people out here passing out flyers, and this is going to get really costly, and it's not going to bring back much of a return. And so I was like, all right, we got to scrap that. That was a good idea because we were there with all the athletes. And I mean, like, we had a summer clinic that one of the famous football players from the area had put on. And I was like, this is the perfect opportunity with it was like 300 kids out there. I was like, I got cars I can put stuff. I got 300 cars out here. I can put 300 flyers out, right? So I did that, and it didn't work. And I was like, okay, I still was determined to do this. So I said, let me think about where I can put these things out again, or how I can get in front of these people. Then I realized, the parents hang out and congregate at the field or the court where their youth athletes are having practice, but they all get information from the email from the actual park. So I said, all I need to do is get my information inside of the park's email. And when I do that, then I could reach all those people and I'll have a better chance of actually getting this thing done. So what I did was I compiled an entire list. This was my Dream 100. I compiled a Dream 100 list of 100 emails from around the area of all of the people. Because in our parks here in Georgia, you have a park, and then they have baseball at the park, and football at the park, and cheerleading at the park, and all these different sports all at the park. And so if you get it to the park, you can email each one of the sports individually. So that's what I did. So I had all that, and I went out and I just started sending emails, email. I don't even think I got through the 100. I think I got through 22 of them, and I had 2 responses. So I'm like, ooh, that's almost 20%. That's hey, let's go, right? So I got 2 responses. So I went and talked to one of them, and we got it. We actually got it going, and we put it on, right? And so I basically said, hey, look, I'm going to give you, 30% of the income from this, so you'll use it as a fundraiser, and then I'll put everything together. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is say yes, show up at the park, open it, and collect the check. And they said, perfect. And I said, perfect. So I was able to go in, and I sent them my package of emails. I said, hey, send these emails out to them one at a time, once a week until the last week. Then we're going to send them 2 on the last 2 days to kind of really push the last minute sales. And we ended up selling 47 of the 60 tickets and making $3,000. And I had no money. I had no influence, right? I just had an idea, and I used my mouth to communicate, right? One of the highest forms of value. And we actually got it done. And that was the first time that I realized, this is easy. Like, it was like, you've seen those buttons on, what was it, those commercials, the Staples commercials, I think it's Staples or Office Depot, where there's a button that says that was easy, and you tap it, it says that was easy. Like, literally, it was that easy. All I did was think, get in front of them people, do the email. Well, I gotta contact the email people, who the gatekeepers of the email. So I did that, got in the email immediately. I mean, without question. Nobody questioned who I was or anything like that. They were like, the park is putting it on with the coach. All right, cool. Parks vetted him. They know what he's talking about. All right, you automatically gain influence. You automatically gain influence over people when you do it like this. So that was the great lesson that I learned from Russell Brunson. And like, you can do the exact same thing. And we're gonna do this for our podcast. All right. So even if you don't have a podcast right now, this is very, 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 very important for you to do. Okay. Because you're going to be doing 2 things. You're going to be pulling people to your podcast, and you're going to be interviewing them if you want to do that. You don't have to do that. But if you want to do that every once in a while, like I have a hybrid. We're going to be doing a hybrid here. So I'm going to be doing interview and what I normally do like this. You guys come to know me for doing this. And I'm going to start bringing in new people now so we can actually talk to them. It's going to be great. And I love the organicness of this podcast. And if you guys are listening, like, man, it's not really like, I don't want it's a conversations between you and I, and we're going to talk about these things, and we're going to get things moving for you. Okay. And as always, you can always contact me on my social medias, at Coach Harper, at the Coach Harper on Instagram, at the Coach Harper on Instagram. You probably already know that. You probably already follow me, but if you're not, go ahead and follow me. All right. Organic. We love the organic conversations. Okay. All right. So if you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to hop over into my computer so we can see kind of what we're going to be doing now as a carry on from last week. Because last week, what we were doing is that we were just trying to find the people. Now, I'm going to kind of just show you how after you find the people on Chartable, then what I found when I was doing this was that it was kind of hard to find everybody's information right from Chartable. Sometimes it's right there, sometimes it's not, and you got to kind of dig for it. But I figured that most people that have podcasts and that are doing well also have a Facebook. So that's what we're going to look at right now. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to be as descriptive as I can for you. All right. So here we are. We're in my Facebook page. Hit the follow button. Okay. And let's hop over into Chartable. Okay. All right. So this is what we're looking at. So on Chartable, we got the top 100 podcasts in the religion and spirituality niche, because my people are people who maybe be feeling like they have been called by God, and they know that they are going to be leading some people or helping some people, and they want to start a podcast to do that, right? So there are tons of people who are in these audiences here that we can actually talk to. All right. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, hey, who am I to be talking to somebody like Joel Osteen, right? Like Joel Osteen is this huge pastor, and like he probably doesn't even know he has a podcast, right? He probably doesn't even know they're just taking his sermons and they're cutting them up and putting them on and saying, here's a podcast. And he's like, and people are saying, yo, I love your podcast, episode number 5. He's like, which one was that? What did I say? Right? I didn't even know I had a podcast, right? So I mean, he knows. I mean, it's on Sirius XM. Okay, so he knows. But don't discourage yourself because don't have a podcast yet, or you have a small podcast and it's not really pulling any numbers. Don't be discouraged, because again, these people, some of these people are actually looking for people to be on it. Now here's a disclaimer. You're going to get a lot more no's than you're going to get yeses. Okay. That's just the name of the game. Our thing is, but here's why I don't get discouraged and why you shouldn't get discouraged. Because I understand the law of averages. And the law of averages says that you are going to get, and let's put it in the context of what we're doing. So you're going to get way more no's than you're going to get yeses, but you're going to get a percentage of yeses. All right. That percentage is usually around 10%. Okay. That on average. Okay. So on average, you're usually going to get about 10% that's going to say yes. So that means if we talk to 100 people, we should get 10 yeses. Okay. Now, when talking to these people, it's not a thing where we're just going to go and say, hey, can I be on a podcast? Hey, can I be on a podcast? No, we have to find ways to talk to them. We have to find ways to serve them. And that's why I want to be on their social media, so that we can talk with them. We can engage with their posts. We can do all of these things. Okay. So let's take a look at this. All right. So the first one, the number 1 podcast in the United States of America for religion and spirituality, is called The Bible in a Year with F.R. Mike Schmitz. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to Facebook, and we're going to search F.R. Mike Schmitz. He comes right up. Okay, so let's go to that page. Let's see if we can find him. And here he is. Okay, so he has 7.2K followers. All right, cool beans. All right, 10 posts in the last 2 weeks. So we're gonna just go up in here, and we're gonna check out his page. Okay, so obviously he does the podcast, so he probably has some type of links to his thing. So let's check out his about page. That's cool. Got some posts here. Yep, that's him on his podcast 2 weeks ago. So he is active. Okay, he is active on his thing here, on his platform here. So that's very, very good. And he's from, it looks like he's in Duluth, Minnesota. Well, I'm in Duluth, Georgia. So we got some connection already. So what we're going to do here is we're going to like his page here. Okay. And we could even message him. I don't want to message him just yet. I just want to like it. And I actually want to follow his page because this is how we're going to keep in touch with him. And so every time he makes a post, it's going to come up on our feed. And what we're going to do is we're going to engage with the post. Okay. All right. So we might, like this, and I might say, so this Holy Bible, King James Version here is a post with a Holy Bible, and it just says King James Version. He says, if you're wavering in your faith today, put your eyes back on Jesus. Whatever the Lord has promised, he will do. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his word will never pass away. And I'm just going to say the version I grew up on, his word is always pure and true. And it is a guide to my life. Thank you for the reminder. All right. So always want to have something with real, not just like, cool, right? Something with substance. Okay. And so then we're going to go ahead and we're going to post that. All right, cool. So now the great thing about this is it seems like he has a decent sized audience, 7.2K followers. So now let's just imagine if those 7,000 followers, let's say, I want to say for easy math, let's just say it's 7,000 followers, and let's just say 50% of them listen to his podcast. So now he has 5,000. So about 3,500 followers. Okay, 3,500 listeners to his podcast. Let's just say that, right? Out of 3,500 listeners on his podcast, if every one of those people listen to his podcast, and I go on his podcast and I tell them about that, talk to them about podcasting and having a purpose-driven podcast and how God wants them to put their thing out, their voice out to the world. Out of those 3,500 people, I could, based on the law of averages, I could potentially pull in 350 new people to listen to my podcast, right? And it'll only take an hour. Does that make sense? I know it's making sense to you guys right now. I know it's making sense to you guys right now. So what we have to do is we have to work our way in here, though. So every time he does this, like, we're literally going to really put a real thing. Now, you guys are probably saying, do I have to do this for 100 people? No, you don't have to do it for 100 people every time. It's just you want to spend about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of just going through these people and commenting, okay? Like, you don't have to comment as you do it, but if you do comment as you do it, you'll at least get your face seen. But you want to kind of just continue to monitor what they're doing, seeing what they're doing that's actually getting traction. Okay, seeing what they're doing that's actually getting traction. What people are engaging with. All right, look and see what people are engaging with. All right, so something like here, like he got 22 comments, 48 shares. Like, what is it about this post that is working and what people are engaging with? All right, so we know how to put our post out on this platform, and we also know where to come. Right, so this person here looks like they're trying to do the same thing. Look, Patricia, the first one to comment on that one. So person, Josie was trying the first person to comment on that one. All right, cool. So that's what we want to do. So then we're going to repeat this process for all these people. So I'm going to go back one because what we want to do is actually follow them. Okay, so that like did actually get the follow. All right, so let's move to the next one. And the next one on the Chartable list is the Bible. It's called The Bible Recap by with Tara Lee Cobble. Okay, so we're going to search her on Facebook. All right, put that name in the search bar, and then boom, she pops up. Founder at the Bible Recap Podcast. So she has 22,000 followers. Okay. And so we're looking at her podcast here, and we see that she is not getting a bunch of comments, but she has a lot of shares on her podcast. And she was at the iHeartRadio Podcast Awards in 2024, and she looks like she attended, and I think she might have won something. It says we got nominated. Oh, she got nominated for an iHeart Award. We didn't win our category, but it was so new and exciting. Okay, cool. So got 94 comments on that. All right, so she has a pretty decent podcast. So what we want to do is we want to build a relationship, okay? Build a relationship with her. So we're going to go ahead and follow her, all right? And then, you know, as we're able to post, sometimes you can't comment. It doesn't look like I can comment just yet, even though I am following her. Maybe I have to refresh. Let's refresh and see if we can get the comment in there. And if we can't, it's no problem. The other thing that I want you guys to do, though, is I want you to, we can't comment. She must have turned the comments off or something for new people or something. But the other thing we want to do, though, is we want to see if we can find these people on Instagram. Now, typically on their About section, they will have their information in there on where you can find other things. You know, you can find them on other places, okay? So she doesn't look like she has her platform set up. You know, yeah, she has a little bit of things set up, but it doesn't really have too much. Like, don't have her Instagram or anything up here, but she does have a website, so we can visit the website, and then from the website we'll be able to email her when the time is right. Okay. And how do we know the time is right? When we're actually getting her to comment back on what we're saying, and then, you know, she recognizes who we are. Okay. So this is what we want to do. We want to continue to work our way in. So we'll just go back and we'll just repeat the process. We'll come in here. We'll find the next one, Bible Project Podcast, and then we'll go and we'll do that until we have all Dream 100 on our list. This is the easiest and fastest way to do this. And to move your podcast forward is this. These are the type of things that we need to do to move our podcast forward. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to start building relationships with them. And then next week's episode, we're going to be able to see how we actually go through that process and then things. I am giving you guys the total, unadulterated, unfiltered sauce is what we call this. So, man, listen, here's what I want to tell you guys. Stay with it. Don't get discouraged. Use these strategies. We're going to watch this in real time. You're going to be able to see this in real time as I'm actually doing it. And listen, get your friends, get your family, all the people who want to start a podcast that you know, get them in here, get them to the podcast, share the podcast, download the podcast, because this is going to be something that you guys are going to be able to use to actually start your podcast and actually make it worthwhile. All right. And make it something fun and enjoyable and actually probably profit from it. Okay. So with that being said, remember that everything that you do today affects your future. So remember, tomorrow, I'm Derek Harper, and I'll see you next time.